Obama pulled Crockett aside after her fiery congressional performance, suggesting she tone down her rhetoric. What she said back made him realize times have changed. The Democratic leadership retreat at the Omni Homestead Resort in Virginia was supposed to be a routine strategy session. Senior party members had gathered in the elegant mountain resort to discuss messaging and tactics for the upcoming election cycle. The late afternoon sun filtered through the conference room windows as various representatives shared their perspectives on voter outreach and media strategy. Earlier that day, footage had gone viral of Representative Jasmine Crockett's explosive performance during a House Judiciary Committee hearing. Her systematic destruction of Republican talking points and her unflinching confrontation of conservative members had dominated news cycles and social media. While progressives celebrated her fearless approach, some party veterans were concerned about the optics. Former President Barack Obama had been observing the discussions with his characteristic thoughtful demeanor. As the official session concluded and members began mingling during the cocktail hour, Obama approached Crockett near the fireplace in the resort's main lounge. "Jasmine," Obama said in his familiar, measured tone, "could I have a word with you privately?" Crockett looked up from her conversation with a colleague, immediately recognizing the diplomatic but serious expression Obama wore when he had something important to discuss. "Of course, Mr. President." They moved to a quieter corner of the lounge, away from the other party members. Obama's approach was gentle but direct, the same style that had made him effective in countless political negotiations. "I watched your hearing performance today," Obama began, his hands clasped behind his back in his signature pose. "Your legal expertise was impressive as always, but I'm concerned about the tone and approach you're taking in these public forums." Crockett raised an eyebrow but remained silent, allowing Obama to continue. "The American people respond better to measured, thoughtful discourse," Obama explained, his voice carrying the wisdom of 8 years in the presidency. "When we match their anger with anger, when we meet their aggression with aggression, we lose the moral high ground. We become just another voice in the political noise." Obama paused, looking directly at Crockett with the expression of a mentor offering guidance. "I understand your passion, and I admire your commitment to justice, but consider how much more effective you could be if you moderated your approach. Diplomacy and respectful dialogue have always been the path to lasting change." Crockett listened patiently, her expression giving nothing away. When Obama finished, she took a thoughtful pause before responding. "Mr. President," she began, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of steel, "I have enormous respect for you and your legacy. Your presidency meant everything to millions of people, including me. But I need you to understand something about the world we're living in now." Obama's eyebrows raised slightly, not expecting such a direct response. "The Republicans you negotiated with, the ones who showed you at least surface-level respect even when they disagreed, those Republicans are gone," Crockett continued. "The people I'm dealing with in committee hearings aren't interested in respectful dialogue. They're interested in power, period." She stepped closer, her voice gaining intensity while remaining controlled. "When they question my credentials, when they dismiss me as unqualified, when they use coded language to diminish my authority, they're not doing it because they want to engage in good faith debate. They're doing it because they believe I should know my place." Obama shifted slightly, his diplomatic training making him uncomfortable with the directness of the confrontation, but he continued listening. "Your approach worked in your time, Mr. President, and I genuinely respect that," Crockett said, her tone becoming more pointed. "But respectability politics don't work when the other side has abandoned all pretense of respectability. When they go low, going high just means they get to hit us without consequence." Obama attempted to interject. "But Jasmine, if we abandon our principles of civil discourse—" "Who says I'm abandoning principles?" Crockett interrupted, her voice sharp enough to cut through Obama's diplomatic deflection. "My principle is truth. My principle is justice. My principle is refusing to let lies go unchallenged just because challenging them makes some people uncomfortable." Obama's mouth opened slightly, clearly not accustomed to being interrupted, especially by a junior member of his own party. Crockett pressed on, her legal training evident in the systematic way she built her argument. "Mr. President, with all due respect, your legacy includes some incredible achievements. But it also includes 8 years of trying to work with people who called you a terrorist, questioned your birth certificate, and obstructed every initiative you proposed." Obama's composure began to crack slightly, his jaw tightening at the reminder of the racist attacks he had endured. How did that respectful approach work when they stole your Supreme Court nominee? Crockett asked, her voice rising slightly. How did it work when they refused to even hold hearings for Merrick Garland? Where was the civility then? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Obama looked toward the floor, clearly uncomfortable with having his strategic choices questioned so directly. The difference between us, Crockett continued, is that I learned from your experience. I watched them disrespect you for 8 years while you maintained your dignity. I watched them reward your grace with obstruction and hatred, and I decided I wasn't going to make the same mistake. Obama finally found his voice, but it lacked its usual confidence. So your solution is to abandon any attempt at building bridges? My solution, Crockett replied with devastating clarity, is to stop pretending that bridges can be built with people who are actively trying to burn down the bridge. My solution is to use the power I have while I have it to fight for the people who sent me here. She paused, then delivered her knockout punch. Mr. President, you spent 8 years trying to be the president for all Americans, even the ones who hated you. I respect that choice, but I was elected to be a representative for my constituents, and they didn't send me here to be polite to people who want to strip away their rights. Obama stood silent, his diplomatic training failing him in the face of such direct confrontation from within his own party. The voters in my district don't want me to tone it down, Crockett continued. They want me to fight. They want someone who won't let Republican lies go unchallenged. They want someone who will call racism what it is, who will call lies what they are, and who will refuse to pretend that both sides are equally valid when one side is trafficking in conspiracy theories and hatred. The former president looked genuinely shaken, as if seeing his own legacy through a different lens for the first time. Crockett's voice softened slightly, but her message remained firm. Times have changed, Mr. President. The old rules don't apply anymore. What you see as my aggressive rhetoric, my constituents see as strength. What you see as lack of civility, they see as authenticity. Obama attempted one final diplomatic effort. But surely we can find a middle ground. Mr. President, Crockett interrupted again. They're banning books, restricting voting rights, and criminalizing health care for trans kids. There is no middle ground with fascism. There's only resistance or complicity. The word fascism hit Obama like a physical blow. His entire political philosophy was built on finding common ground, on believing that reasonable people could disagree reasonably. You may see my approach as divisive, Crockett concluded, but I see yours as enabling. Every time we treat their bad faith arguments as if they're legitimate policy positions, we legitimize their extremism. Every time we respond to their cruelty with calls for unity, we abandon the people who are being harmed. Obama stood in stunned silence, his worldview challenged in a way he hadn't experienced since entering politics. The confident, measured statesman who had commanded rooms for decades found himself without a response. Crockett's expression softened, showing respect for the man even as she rejected his approach. I understand this is difficult to hear, Mr. President, but the party needs to evolve. The country needs leaders who will fight, not just negotiate. Without another word, Obama nodded slowly and walked away, his shoulders carrying the weight of a political philosophy that suddenly seemed inadequate for the current moment. He spent the rest of the evening in quiet contemplation, avoiding further conversations with other party members. Within days, clips of their conversation began circulating through Democratic circles, though the specific details were kept private. Progressive activists praised Crockett's willingness to challenge even beloved party leaders when she believed they were wrong. Some veteran Democrats worried about the implications of such direct confrontation within party ranks. The conversation marked a turning point in Democratic Party dynamics, highlighting the generational and strategic divide between Obama's diplomatic approach and the new generation's confrontational tactics. Crockett had forced a reckoning with the limitations of respectability politics in an era of authoritarian populism. Obama made no public statements about their exchange, but those close to him noticed a subtle shift in his own rhetoric and subsequent appearances. The conversation had planted seeds of doubt about whether his legacy approach was sufficient for the challenges ahead. The Democratic Party retreat ended with unresolved tensions about messaging and strategy, but Crockett had made her position clear. The time for polite resistance was over.